Hello, I have a kilogram blob of cork and a kilogram blob of lead. I'm going to place both of them in water. The question is, which one will displace more water? Which one will displace more water? An object that is submerged in water experiences only two forces, the weight and the upthrust. The upthrust is always equals to the weight of fluid displaced, no matter what. Sink or float, upthrust is always equals to the weight of fluid displaced. If the object is floating, then we can conclude that the weight of the object must be equals to the weight of the fluid displaced. So we can write the equation U is equals to W, because net force is 0, you see. And if you think carefully, rho times V is actually the mass of the fluid displaced. So if an object is floating, it means that the object must displace its own weight of fluid. Another way of saying it is, if a 1 kilogram object is floating, then it must have displaced 1 kilogram of fluid. What I have here is a kilogram of cork. It's floating in water with a quarter of its volume submerged. This is because water has 4 times the density of cork. So this amount of water here actually has the same weight as the piece of cork. So the weight of the fluid displaced is equals to the weight of the object. That's why it floats. This is a kilogram of wood. It has only half the volume of the cork. It's much smaller because it has a higher density. So a piece of wood is also going to float in water, but this time with only with half its volume submerged in water. This because water has 2 times the density of wood. So this amount of water here has the same weight as this amount of wood. So the weight of the fluid displaced is equal to the weight of the object, and that's why it floats. A kilogram of ice will be even smaller in volume, and it will float with almost 90% of its volume submerged before it can displace its own weight of water. So before we get to lead, let's ask a question first. Among these 3, which one displaced the most water? It's all the same, right? Because they are all 1 kilogram each. So to stay afloat, all of them must have displaced 1 kilogram of water. So the amount of water displaced for each case is exactly 1 kilogram. It's all the same. For the lead, however, the lead has a density of more than 11 gram per cm cube. 11 gram per cm cube. So the blob of 1 kilogram lead is going to be just about this big. So even with 100% of it submerged, it's not going to be able to displace 1 kilogram of water. That's why a piece of lead cannot float in water. It will sink all the way until it comes to rest at the seabed. That's when the normal contact force of the seabed will come in to help support the weight of the lead. Let me try to make it more clear. A piece of lead that's sunken in water displays only its own volume of water. This amount of water obviously weighs less than this amount of lead, because lead has a much higher density than water, which means the upthrust received by this piece of lead is much less than its weight. That's why it's sunk. So back to the question. Does a kilogram of cork displace more or less water than a kilogram of lead? The answer obviously is, well, a piece of cork, since it floats, it must displace 1 kilogram of water. A piece of lead, since it's sunk, means that it must have displaced less than a kilogram of water. So clearly the piece of cork displaces more water than the piece of lead. I hope I've made this clear, and I hope you have learned something. Ta-ta!